Hiya and welcome to this podcast, The Teen Whisperer, the podcast for mums of girls aged 9 to 25 who are trying their best to figure out this whole, teenager thing without completely losing the plot. I'm Rach Friedley, a parenting coach and mentor, and I help mums just like you make sense of the teenage years. Because all those WTF moments, they're not just attitude, they're messages. Messages telling you what's really going on beneath all those behaviours. Slam doors, the eye rolls and the screaming in your face. Oh yeah, and I'm also a mum to a teenage daughter, so 100% get how you're feeling. So let's dive in. Grab yourself a coffee, a water, anything that you need, and let's dive in together to this week's topic. So why does every teenage girl seem to have anxiety right now? So you've probably noticed the constant worrying about school, college, work, friendships, or the future. The mood swings and meltdowns that seem to come out of nowhere and go from 0 to 1,000 in 2 milliseconds. And the overwhelm, the panic, the avoidance and the hiding in the room. And if you've ever tried to help, you've probably heard, I don't know why I feel like this. I just can't stop overthinking. I feel anxious all the time and it's affecting me every moment of the day. The statistics, I still can't say that word. The statistics tell the same story. 1 in 3 teenage girls in the UK now reports high anxiety levels. But here's the part we don't talk about enough. Not every girl has an anxiety disorder. Shall I repeat that? Not every anxious girl has an anxiety disorder. In fact, most of them don't. They're not sick, they're not broken, they're just reacting to an overwhelming world. Because anxiety is not a diagnosis. It's a response. It's a natural reaction to an unnatural situation. Shall I repeat that? A natural reaction to an unnatural situation. It's a world that moves way too fast. It's a culture that demands perfection 24/7 of them and a nervous system that never gets to switch off. It's constantly on high alert and is going off that alarm every millisecond. And yet, without realising it, we often label our daughters as having anxiety in inverted commas. But what if she doesn't? What if she's just being a human being, having a human response to a world that's just too much for her? Because remember, our daughters are in that in-between stage. They're no longer a child and they're not an adult. They're in that in-between in the teenage years. And yes, I know I start from girls aged 9 up to 13. But our girls are starting those teenage years, that developmental space earlier and earlier and having periods at an earlier age, which is affecting their brains. So what if nothing is actually wrong? And instead, this is just her nervous system trying to protect her. That's the thing, Mum. WTF is going on. Spoiler alert, nothing. She's not broken, as I've already said. She doesn't need a diagnosis. She doesn't need fixing. She just needs to understand what's going on for her and for you to understand her. And when we rush in to label her as anxious, we risk locking her into a belief that something is wrong with her and that she needs a diagnosis. She needs medicating. She needs fixing. But what if we've been looking at this completely the wrong way? We've been taught that anxiety is a thinking problem in your brain, that it starts with those negative thoughts. But it doesn't start in the brain. First, the body reacts, then the heart feels it, and only last does the brain make sense of it. And when we understand this, we can stop pathologizing normal human reactions and start helping our girls feel safe again within their own bodies. So before your daughter even has an anxious thought, her body has already reacted. Little known fact, that one. So her heart rate jumps, her stomach ties itself into knots, her breathing gets shallow and induces a panic attack, and she feels wired, restless or shaky. This isn't overthinking. This is her nervous system detecting stress before her brain even knows why. And today's world is so full of triggers that keep her on edge 24/7. Phones buzzing all day, so her nervous system stays on. School deadlines piling up, her heart rate rises, and walking into a room full of people, that shallow breathing, that panic attack kicks in. Her body is constantly scanning for threats, but there's no real danger. There is no saber-toothed tiger in front of her. There is no yeti. There is no polar bear. So instead of running or fighting, the stress gets trapped inside her. And especially as girls, the female brain means that we internalise that stress. It affects us within us. She doesn't know why she feels this way, but the sensation is very much there. It's real. And it's not just in her head, as we are regularly told. But here's where we, as mums, sometimes make the mistake. Instead of recognising these feelings as temporary and natural, we label them because that's what we're told again and again. She has anxiety. She's an anxious child. She needs medicating. But what if she's not? What if she's just being that human being, having that human response to a world that's too much for her? So once her body reacts, her heart takes over. Her physical sensations turn into feelings. That tight chest feels like dread. That churning stomach feels like fear, and that racing heart feels like panic. And because this happens so often, she starts to believe, I must be an anxious person. Something must be wrong with me. But what if nothing is wrong at all? For example, let's just talk about social media for a second. So your daughter wakes up and she checks her phone first thing. She sees a group chat where everyone was messaging last night, but she wasn't online because she was asleep. Her heart rate spikes, her stomach twists. Did I miss something? Are they annoyed with me? And suddenly she feels anxious, but she doesn't know why. Nothing actually happened, but her body has already sent the distress signal to her brain, to her heart and her brain. Then multiply this by hundreds of tiny moments every single day. When she doesn't have a way to release that built-up stress, she starts assuming, I must have anxiety. But she doesn't. She has an overworked nervous system. And instead of reinforcing the idea that she has a disorder, we need to help her see your body is trying to protect you. Let's help it feel safe again. And this is where we as mums often get stuck. We hear their anxious thoughts and we want to help. So we say things like, it's not that bad. You're overthinking this. Or just be more positive. But by the time those thoughts appear, the body and heart have already set the stage. So her brain scrambles to make sense of everything. My heart is racing. I must be in danger. My stomach feels tight. Something bad is going to happen. I feel restless. I must be overwhelmed. But these thoughts aren't the cause of anxiety. They're the result of an overworked body and an overwhelmed heart. Now, I know it can feel overwhelming to know how to help her because this is where I was. What do you say when she's spiralling? How do you bring her back down again when she's wild or panicked? But instead of trying to fix her thoughts first, we need to go backwards. Calm the body first, process the emotions second, and then shift the thoughts last. Anxiety isn't a disorder for most girls. It's a nervous system response. And when we help her to feel safe in her body, her mind will follow. So if your daughter is struggling, don't just ask, what are you thinking? Instead, try, what is your body feeling right now? Where do you feel it within your body? And what do you need? And most importantly, remind her, anxiety does not mean she's broken. It means her body is responding exactly as it was designed to. It's not a disorder, it's a signal. A signal that she's in an environment that's moving too fast. A signal that her system is overloaded. A signal that she needs support, not self-judgment. And when we stop labelling every anxious moment as a disorder, we give our girls the space to breathe, regulate and reset. And something to do in the moment when she's having that overwhelming thought and those behaviours that go with it. If you can, do a fascial jig. Literally stand up, ground your feet into the floor and literally jig every part of your body, shake every part of your body. And it releases those emotions all the way from the head down to your feet. And it's that simple. So if this episode has you thinking, wow, this actually makes so much sense, but you're still wondering, okay, but what do I do? I've got you. I've put together a free guide just for mums like you. It breaks down exactly what's happening in her body, how to respond, and simple steps to help her feel safe again. It's short, it's simple, and it will give you clear, practical steps to help your daughter move from anxious and overwhelmed to calm and understood. Because when you know how to respond, not react, you don't just help her, you strengthen your relationship too. So go grab it now. Just tap the link in the show notes below or head to my website. So if this episode spoke to you, I hope you'll know you're not alone in this. This isn't about getting it perfect. It's about showing up and practicing imperfect parenting. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think. Let's be proactive, not reactive, together. And if you loved today's episode, share it with your friends, leave a review, and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. So you've got this. See you next time and take care. Bye-bye.